Hello everybody! So today I wanted to make a video answering a question that I got in quite a few comments. I forgot the intro bit to my plugging myself bit, so I'm just gonna freestyle it. But my name's Janice. I make videos on topics such as learning Korean, learning languages. I'll make videos talking about living in Switzerland and what's it like. And I've also added my eating disorder recovery to the list of topics that I will be discussing on this channel. Any or all of that sounds interesting to you, why not have a look around on my channel and you might find something that you're interested in. And if you do, you can stick around because it's free, and why not? Instead of lingering on the awkwardness, let's get into the actual topic of this video. I've been asking quite a few comments, mostly by Koreans, why I actually want to learn Korean. Let's get into the reasons as to why I want to learn Korean. I wrote some notes down, so if you see me, looking back at this little book here, notes. I find the language really fascinating, and it's pretty much unlike anything that I've ever known. I've never really studied an Asian language. I'm not sure if it's called an Asian language. There's like Germanic languages and then Latin languages. I'm not sure what the term for Korean is, at least not this in depth. If you've watched a few of my older videos, you'll know that I have tried to learn Japanese when I was 14, but yeah, no. I've been to Korea twice now and I really enjoyed my time there, but I was always quite sad when the shopkeepers asked me something and I wasn't able to reply in Korean because I didn't understand them. I want to be able to talk to people because I know that in the future I will want to go back to Korea. I want to be able to actually have a conversation with them, even if it is just, where you're from. I want to be able to understand the question and be able to tell them and be able to tell them about my country or something, or anything they're interested in really, and be able to, have a back and forth. Because so far I've not been able to do that and I always felt like I was missing out on something. The architecture in Korea is really different than to anything that I know of in Switzerland, because Switzerland tends to be built quite flat. Korea builds up high, or at least they do so in Seoul. I also really enjoy the old kind of Korean architecture, like Hanok villages. I find that really beautiful. It's also kind of tied in with history and the culture. I find that entire concept of that culture really pretty and beautiful, and I'd love to learn more about it, but I feel like learning the language is part of the steps to be able to understand something a little bit more, or a little bit more on a personal level. In my opinion, culture and language is very much tied together, so to be able to understand the culture better, I would have to be able to understand the language as well. This reason might sound a little bit more silly to you, but one of the reasons why I want to learn Korean is because I really love Korean food. I love the spices, I love the taste of Korean food, I love the saltiness, I love the extreme sweetness. Most of the really good, genuine recipes are not gonna be in English, they're gonna be in Korean. I don't wanna have to Google translate things, I'm way too lazy to copy paste everything. So I wanna be able to read recipes. I know that there's Korean YouTubers that make videos in English, but I feel like that's not the same. I want to not have to rely on everybody to have to translate things for me. I want to be able to be independent and just read recipes by myself. I've kind of made it a goal of mine to live in Korea for longer than just a holiday or a vacation. So I feel like it would be a lot easier for me to do that, to be able to live in Korea, if I was actually able to talk in Korean and to understand Korean. Imagine if I was sat in like a furniture store and I was trying to buy something and I wasn't able to converse to the clerk that I want this to be delivered to me at a specific time. If I can't say that in Korean, then I'm pretty much just relying on them to be able to speak English, and that's kind of dumb. Because it's not their job to manage their business and then also be able to converse with me in my preferred language. If I move to a new country, I'll have to do a lot of adjusting. Part of that also comes with adjusting by learning the language. I can't just expect the entire country to adjust to my needs, because that's a country that's already been there before I came along and decided, oh yes, I want to live here. That's an entire country. I'm just one person. It would be much easier for me to just learn a language instead of forcing everybody in the country that I want to move to learn a language. Do you know what I mean? It would also be a lot easier to be able to do things in Korea if I spoke Korean. Say that I'm trying to buy furniture, or say an appliance of mine breaks and I have to get it fixed. I have to be able to talk to them and tell them what happened. Insurances, or I don't know, if I get a pet or something. Or what if I want to get a professional haircut instead of me having to cut my hair? Of course there are English-speaking hair salons in Korea. Mostly they're gonna be a little bit more expensive, and I'm not swimming in money. Another reason why I want to learn Korean is I want to be able to watch TV shows, dramas, or just movies in the original language that it was filmed in. I don't like subtitles. I'm usually too lazy. Usually when I watch TV shows or movies, I'll have them just playing in the background whilst I do something else. For example, I'll be painting my nails and I'll be watching the movie, or I'm cooking and I'm watching a TV show. But I can't do that if it's in Korean. Even if I just change the tab in my browser, then I'm already like, oh shit, I didn't catch what they were saying. But if I can understand what they're saying, then I can easily open a new tab and search for something without having to miss out on the conversation. Another thing is I'd like to be able to understand the lyrics from songs. In my opinion, I find Korean to be a very beautifully spoken language. If you listen to anything spoken in Korean, not songs, but actually spoken Korean, I find it really beautiful. I'd listened to Japanese before. Korean and Japanese are just absolutely not, you know, on the same boat. But also Chinese is different, Spanish is different, any Latin language is different, but I really enjoy the sound of Korean. And I want to be able to replicate that and to be able to show my appreciation of the Korean language in Korean. One thing that really motivated me to learn Korean is the fact that Hangul, the Korean alphabet, is really easy to learn. You might find comments out there that tell you that you can learn it in 15 minutes. I'm not quite sure if you can learn it in 15 minutes. It took me about half a day to learn it. It took me 2 hours to be able to memorize which letter was corresponding to which sound. I also had to learn how to write it and which direction, where to place them in the little box thing. Hangul was pretty easy to learn, which was a really great motivator. One thing that I've wanted to do since I was 14 was visit the countryside of Japan. That's kind of been shifted to the countryside of Korea. Rule of thumb is always that the further away you go from major cities, the less people are going to be able to speak English. That rings true in Switzerland, that rings true in Spain. That's most likely also going to be ringing true in Korea. I am really one for nature. I really enjoy nature and driving around it and exploring. I want to be able to go to the countryside and visit villages that aren't like these huge metropolitan cities like Seoul or Busan. You know, I want to be able to talk to people in Korea and be able to ask them, you know, like a little bit more difficult questions, for example, like how's life, or their opinions on things, and not just be able to say, I want to eat this, but be able to answer questions about Switzerland, what it's like, or be able to ask them, you know, what it's like to be living in Korea, what are your opinions of this, what are your opinions on that. I want to be able to, you know, actually have a conversation instead of just having really basic small talk. This is the last point that I've written down on my notes, but I, unlike my family, do believe that learning Korean is going to help me in future job prospects. Whenever I told my family in the early stages of me learning Korean, they always ask, why Korean? Why wouldn't you learn something more useful like Japanese or Chinese if it has to be something Asian? Their reasoning being that those languages would be a lot more useful in job prospects. Chinese being the world's largest language, or Japanese because it's a lot more known than Korean, I guess. And they kind of always just said that it wasn't gonna help me with future job prospects, as if that was like the only reason why I wanted to do it. So those were my personal reasons as to why I want to learn Korean. If you're currently learning a language, can you tell me which language you're learning and what your reasons are behind wanting to learn the language? So this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can stick around till when I make a new one. I hope you drink lots of water, get lots of sleep. And this is the end. Bye!